You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters, we're going to talk about the Buffalo Bills. Oh, my goodness. This is kind of strange that I did a video just yesterday, and we were talking about the personnel decisions around Sean McDermott and the fact that I couldn't believe Brandon Beane kept his job and Sean McDermott didn't. I called out the Bills for lack of offensive personnel. I think I've seen where Brandon Beane has, outside of Josh Allen, drafted 3 other Pro Bowl players, period. And, of course, there was the issue that I called out the Bills for not trading for wide receiver Jakobi Meyers. I had no idea this was coming, that we would find out just hours later that sure enough, Sean McDermott was not happy they didn't land Jakobi Meyers at the trade deadline, and that he was vocal about that and the personnel on the team. That he come right out and told the owner and Brandon Beane he didn't think the personnel was good enough to win a Super Bowl. And it pissed them off. Really? It pissed them off. We went over the fact there's no number 2 wide receiver on the Bills. There's not. You could argue, is there a good number 3? That's an argument. Okay? So we've got that, and we've got let's just start with the Bills. Look, Browns fans, you might be a little worried about this too. A lot of Browns fans on this channel, a lot of Browns fans think they're about to land Grant Udinski, and this news just broke. The Bills are going to interview him. That's not good. If this is your guy and this is the guy you want, he may be gone. The Bills requested an interview with Jaguars offensive coordinator Grant Udinski for their head coaching job per source. Udinski, who just turned 30, has a second interview for the Browns job on Friday. McNeil, first thing, and he's gone. If you're a Browns fan, you got to be concerned. This, of course, is the next, people believe, the next offensive hotshot. Next, Diana Rossini. Brian Daboll will interview for the head coaching job of the Buffalo Bills. We know there's a relationship. We know he was instrumental in the development of Josh Allen. Buffalo's offensive coordinator from 2018 to 21, native of Western New York, very familiar with Brandon Beane and the organization. So you got to believe that's going to be a real possibility. And I believe this is a Rooney Rule interview. Anthony Lynn. I mean, I guess the Bills could do this because we're finding out. The Bills want to puppet master. The owner and the general manager want to puppet master. They want to stick their arm up somebody's ass and puppet the coach. That's what we're seeing. All right? Like, if in this day and time, if you're firing a coach and your personnel looks like this, you're firing a guy that's been to, this is crazy. This is crazy. Here we go. The decision to fire Sean McDermott and promote Brandon Beane shows that owner Terry Pegula resolved the coaching versus talent question by concluding the roster was good enough to get further than the divisional round of the 2025 playoffs. Veteran Bills reporter Vic Carucci of WGRZ.com has posted a story with a nugget that sheds more light on the internal assessment of whether McDermott had the tools he needed. Quote, I'm told during a meeting held 5 weeks ago between McDermott, Beane, and Pegula, the coach pointed out what the roster lacked to win a Super Bowl. I don't know the specifics McDermott mentioned, but I'm told neither Beane nor Pegula was pleased with McDermott's assessment. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. If you know anything about football, you know the offensive roster was crap for the Bills. And I get it. Look, there were turnovers the other day. There was also a quarterback that put the whole freaking franchise on his back and still nearly beat the Broncos. And still dropped 30 on that defense. If Bills' Sean McDermott had concerns about the talent on Buffalo's roster, he kept it to himself for the most part. After the divisional loss to the Broncos, McDermott focused on the fateful decision to transform a key catch by Brandon Cooks into an interception by cornerback Jaquan McMillan. McDermott continued his commentary on the ruling and handling of it by calling Jay Skursky of Buffalo News from the team plane back to New York. Here we go. Cooks was a post-trade deadline acquisition the Bills made after a failed effort by the Saints to make his contract less attractive on waivers. The Bills were one of the teams believed lurking for Cooks in free agency. No one submitted a waivers claim. McDermott may have been eyeing another in-season acquisition at receiver, Jacoby Myers. The Bills had been linked to Myers before he was traded to the Jags. And in the days preceding Buffalo's wild card game at Jacksonville, McDermott made a comment that went largely unnoticed at the time. Quote, "Well, I thought one of the moves that's made, a difference for them offensively is adding Jacoby Myers," McDermott said via Alex Brodsky. Well, there's a lot of skis. Stefanski, Brodsky, my God. Of SI.com. Good pickup for them. Probably a guy, quite honestly, has been undervalued in his career, but going against him in New England, ton of respect for his game. Brodsky viewed the comments after they were made as a veiled shot at GM Brandon Beane for failing to close the deal for Jacoby Myers. McDermott's privately communicated concerns about the quality of the roster also put a decision to make the 2024 second-round receiver Keon Coleman a healthy scratch for multiple games after the trade deadline in a different light. Most assumed McDermott and Beane were on the same page regarding the need not to put Coleman in uniform in multiple games. They weren't. The Jaguars weren't the only team to make an impact deadline deal for a receiver. The Seahawks picked up Rashid Shaheed from the Saints. We just saw how that went. He had that touchdown to open the game against the Niners. The reality for the Bills is that McDermott took the fall for the failure of a team to achieve the fan base's long-standing fantasy of a Super Bowl. I mean, that's kind of crazy that in hindsight, McDermott was that big a fan of Jacoby Myers. Brandon Beane still didn't close the deal for a 4th and a 6th. I mean, that's crazy. Now, I got to tell you this. If the Browns lose out Udinski to the Bills, and let's be real, if Udinski has the choice between the Browns and the Bills, he's going to the Bills. Although I still kind of believe that Daboll might get the job because he might play nicer. I don't know. Isn't it kind of weird that two organizations that want a hand puppet as a coach, Browns, Andrew Berry, Jimmy Haslam, Brandon Beane, Pagula, are both going after this first-time really young coach? Interesting. I'm starting to think Jim Schwartz might actually get that Browns job. Yeah. Tell me what you think. Sean McDermott, evidently, by the way, if people are looking for interviews out there, rumor has it he turned down the Cardinals and the Raiders already. Has not turned down the Browns, but nobody thinks the Browns have called. How do you not call? Wow. I wonder if he's getting the Ravens job out of nowhere. I don't know. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.